Celeste is a very difficult game, but I'm not only talking about the gameplay, as the game also tackles some very difficult topics in its story, which is depression and anxiety, which is centered around your character Madeline's self-doubt. So based on this, what can we learn about mental health from Celeste? In the prologue, we see Madeline psyching herself up to go up a mountain in a way that would be relatable to most people, saying to herself, "You can do this, breathe." It also shows us a little bit about Madeline's determination, as even given warnings from other people like the crazy old lady, there is no stopping her, leaving only herself as the main obstacle. The music is also very relaxed, with a small exception being at the bridge, which I sort of feel like tells you that the game starts now and the journey has officially started. The composer of the game is Lena Raine, and you can already tell that the soundtrack is gonna be amazing. But as we'll come to learn later, it gets even better, and it helps portray Madeline's anxiety in ways writing can't really do on its own. In chapter 1 we also first meet Theo, the Instapic star that likes to emphasize that he is definitely not a blogger. And he is out on his own adventure and quickly becomes a sort of big brother figure to Madeline in her journey, and just becomes this amazing character for the rest of the game. Importantly, I must also shout out Theo on the Stars, which is his Instapix handle, but in real life it's actually a Twitter handle, so go check that out. For Madeline it is difficult to open up, and her sassiness sometimes works as a protective mechanism. But we can quickly see that this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. While very determined to begin, Madeline is also starting to feel her own self-doubt at the end of the first chapter, showing us that this won't be as straightforward as we were led to believe. Chapter 2 is where things really start getting a little crazy, and we first meet a physical manifestation of Madeline's self-doubt, which by the community has been dubbed Badeline, which materializes when Madeline finds a mirror and takes a good look at herself, which is very sad in itself that this brings out these kinds of feelings. Self-doubt is a protective mechanism, and is a way we tell ourselves to avoid difficult situations like climbing a mountain. However, it can also apply to less dangerous situations that are less obvious, like socializing. For example, someone with social anxiety would doubt himself and be extremely uncomfortable with new people, and they would be uncomfortable with taking on new and challenging topics, as they would be afraid that they would be saying something wrong. We sort of see this with Madeline as well, with her being very defensive when talking to the old woman in the beginning, and shy when meeting Theo so shortly after. One thing that I really love about chapter 2 is how we fight with Badeline. Instead of fighting or trying to overcome our self-doubt, we sort of do this very human thing and just try to run away and avoid the situation rather than confronting and overcoming it, going back to what is our natural fight or flight instincts. This is also how we beat this chapter. Badeline follows Madeline around every step she takes and mirrors our movements like she is the bad part of us that is holding her back. And if she catches up with us, the game is over. We are no longer confident in our ability to climb the mountain. To progress through the chapter, we also see Badeline getting stronger by duplicating herself, creating multiple mirror figures that may end up locking us in a corner if we make the wrong movements. Later we see the duplicates disappear one by one as we get further into the trail, sort of like getting closer and closer to the end, being extremely motivating, giving us confidence that we are able to do this. Plus we also get a glimpse of what is perhaps an old memory as Madeline realizes she is dreaming, which is what I believe to be a potentially very toxic ex-boyfriend, which Madeline grew to be dependent on in her past, and which is probably also one of the reasons now that she has decided to climb the mountain on her own, trying to regain her independence. Following is a conversation with her mother, which helps her calm down, and foreshadowing a technique that Theo teaches Madeline later in chapter 4 in order for her to be able to take control of her panic attacks when they happen. However, in the meantime we stumble across Oshiro, the owner of the Celestial Resort Hotel in chapter 3. Oshiro passed away a long time ago, but his lost soul wanders the hotel. He apparently stayed behind after being forced to close down the hotel, and it is unclear what actually happened to him. But many speculate that he committed suicide as he felt unable to provide for his staff, which he considered close friends and family. This also being the reason why his soul remains bound to the hotel. We try helping him cleaning up what is perhaps the burdens and problems that overwhelmed him in life, forcing him to shut down the hotel. and this is represented by the huge mess of carpets and bed sheets, preventing access to many hotel rooms. He also struggles with the anxiety of his hotel not being good enough for Madeline to stay in, and Madeline also decides to come out, making it worse by practically bullying him, causing him to panic, and because of this he's unable to control himself and turn into a monster, which we also end up running away from. Instead of helping him, we are forced to move on, and we learn that the crazy old lady also knows about Oshiro, saying he currently can't be fixed, and that he should be left on his own even though he clearly needs help to move on. While this might be pushing it, I think Oshiro acts very defensively and seems to lock his people out when it comes to talking about his real issues. It can also happen in real life, and even though someone might not want to talk about what they're going through, if you know anyone that you think is having a tough time, I just want to say that without any doubt it is helpful to provide any kind of social support if you can, even if it's just being around them or just keeping up a totally irrelevant conversation. What follows next is perhaps one of the greatest illustrations of a panic attack in video games, with Madeline having won when the gondola she is riding with Theo breaks down. The music intensifies and it seems like the world is crumbling around her from all angles, and Theo is not able to see this, even though while he is afraid he is able to remain calm. He realizes that Madeline is having a panic attack though, and luckily he knows a technique to help her calm down. This being a way to control her breathing by imagining a feather floating up and down, controlled by your breath. Now, this is useful in real life as well, with many people suggesting that trying to control your breathing using smell, listening to the environment, and only looking at one object at a time can help you control a panic attack that both seems to be building up and is currently occurring. After dealing with her panic attacks in the gondola, we enter chapter 5, which is probably the freakiest one, with it representing how Madeline's thoughts are hunting her, and even with a newfound feather technique, her issues don't simply go away. Of note, we also actually encounter Theo, which is also actually trapped by his own thoughts, showing that the perfect Theo also has struggles that he is dealing with. I get the impression that this is sort of a performance anxiety problem, and he feels like everyone is watching him, which relates to his Instapics account, and that he always has to come across as perfect. This is represented by the eyes watching him, and that he freezes up at times when not knowing what to do, which again is represented by him being stuck in a crystal. Now this tells me that even though people that perhaps may seem overly happy in person or come across as perfect on, for example, Instagram, this is likely far from reality, as they are also probably dealing with their own stuff when you are either not with them or unable to see what they are up to online. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you should not underestimate that people seem perfect on the outside but could be far from where they want to be on the inside. Regardless of his own troubles, Theo continues to support us though, because we are the FN main character and we are the only important one in this story, of course. And he suggests that we begin to accept the part of us instead of trying to get rid of Madeline. However, Madeline, being stubborn and still not able to see this clearly, ends up concluding that the best solution would be to get rid of her self-doubt altogether. Now going into chapter 6, this ends up backfiring hard, as Madeline clearly isn't ready to leave and ends up overpowering Madeline when she tries to confront her, and we end up falling down all the way to the bottom of the mountain. Now you can of course naturally question how we survive this, but clearly the mountain is magical enough to sort of let this detail go. I think this is a very important scene though, as beating depression is far from an uphill battle, and falling down, pun totally intended, is usually a part of the process, for this being the reason why that mental illness currently is the highest killer in the United States. After falling down, Madeline appears to have given up, but luckily crazy old Granny is here to save the day, finally making her understand that her self-doubt has to be part of her, and that Madeline herself is afraid of not existing, and likely also afraid of what will happen to Madeline if she goes away, as she is a defensive mechanism. When Madeline is finally able to accept Madeline at the end of the chapter, we basically go Super Saiyan, even changing hair color, and with Madeline's help we can now get back up quicker than ever. Assume that basically now we're able to take a quicker route to the top, as we understand better what we are capable of. Getting to the top is an absolute blast cooperating with Madeline. So now I think it's a good time to add in that every chapter adds in different mechanisms beautifully, and sort of makes them completely unique. And in chapter 7 we sort of get to see all of the mechanisms together, And also throughout these mini chapters we also see Madeline and Badeline getting closer and closer, showing that Madeline's confidence is skyrocketing as they are climbing up. Once they reach the top, they're also able to sit down and reflect on their accomplishment. Madeline also now must understand that her self-doubt is part of her even when she's not on the mountain, and they have to continue to work together once she leaves. In bonus chapters, Madeline returns to the mountain, and we can see that while Madeline appears to have gotten a lot better dealing with her self-doubt, she is still working on being able to confront her fears, now having to deal with a new traumatic experience being a loss. This will come as a surprise if you haven't completed the bonus chapters, but the crazy old lady, aka Granny, has died. And Madeline was unable to go to her funeral, not being able to accept that she had passed away. Many others also struggle with this, and the bonus chapters follow how Madeline is able to go through the process of both realizing and most importantly accepting that Granny, her friend, has now passed away. So now what do you think about Celeste? Do you think the mountain should be real? I sort of think the mountain already exists, but not in the form of a mountain, but in the shape of psychologists and psychiatrists, and these are people that I really want you to get in touch with if you feel like your thoughts are haunting you. I highly recommend trying to talk to your friends and family, trying to make them understand how you feel if you are struggling as well, even though it might be difficult, sort of similar to how you can see Madeline finally finding her own social support in Theo, Granny and her mother, being the only one that already knows about her struggles. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you want to see more of this kind of videos, and remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people, especially as the channel is still really small and I really want it to grow so we can increase the mental health awareness we are spreading. And thank you again. Bye bye friends.